this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer is always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to right now. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
Winter is in full swing, and Aleve is here to keep you moving. When the cold weather sets in, everyday aches and pains can linger, but Aleve has got your back. With up to 12 hours of body pain relief per dose, Aleve keeps you going with long-lasting body pain relief to get you through whatever the season brings. Chilly days or cozy nights, Aleve gives you that long-lasting body pain relief you can count on this winter. Try Aleve. Use as directed for minor aches and pains.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Sink into affordable luxury. Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa, inside and out. With stain-resistant slip covers and a cloud-like frame duvet, everything goes right in the wash. Plus, the modular design lets you change the look of your space anytime. Visit WashableSofas.com to upgrade your home. Shop up to 60% off site-wide, with sofas starting at just $699 and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
This is Roxanne Gay, the host of the Roxanne Gay Agenda, the bad feminist podcast of your dreams. Each week, I talk to an interesting person about feminism, race, writing in books and art, food, pop culture, and yes, politics. We can't escape politics. Listen to the Luminary original podcast, The Roxanne Gay Agenda, every Tuesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get all the Real Housewives tea you need on the podcast 2 Teas in a Pod. Join ex-housewives Teddi Mellencamp and Tamra Judge as they watch, recap, armchair quarterback, and break down all things from the hit reality TV franchise. This team tells it like it is.
Each week, we're going to be recapping whatever housewife is currently airing. Lucky for Tamra, we're going to start...
Oh my gosh.
I know, with Orange County.
Listen to 2 Teas in a Pod on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Do not interfere with the fencing. If you tamper with the fence or fail to obey officer instructions, you will be subject to uses of force to include impact munitions and riot control agents. Stay back.
By the time protests kicked off in Portland, protesters in Minneapolis had burned down the 3rd Precinct and several other buildings. But as it turns out, Portland was actually the first city in the country to declare a riot over the protests after George Floyd's death. This has more to do with the way that Portland police declare riots than any objective standard of unrest. And now, many months later, Portland police still declare riots on a fairly regular basis. It seems that Portland is set on having the first and last riot of the 2020 protests. So, what happened that turned relatively normal BLM actions in Portland, which were happening in every major American city, into a movement that still draws out crowds today? I'm Robert Evans, and this is Uprising, a guide from Portland. My partners in this series are a team of local Portland journalists: Garrison Davis, Donovan Smith, B. Lake, and Elaine Kinchen. We wrote this series together, and they'll be handling most of the narration for this episode. You'll be hearing more from me, too, as we've embedded audio from several of the live streams I recorded during cop riots. Right now, I'm going to hand the mic off to Donovan Smith. He's reported on politics and social justice for a wide variety of local publications, and he helped produce a documentary on gentrification. Here's Donovan.
After the first night of quote-unquote rioting in Portland, a state of emergency was declared and a curfew was imposed from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., with the express interest of cracking down on mass gatherings of protesters. When asked if the curfew would be enforced if someone was, for example, to go grocery shopping, the mayor's office replied, quote, "The city is not interested in citing people who are going about their business, causing no harm, and uninvolved in criminal conduct," end quote. But it didn't require property destruction or criminal conduct for the police to start attacking and arresting protesters on Saturday, May 30th, even before the curfew. That Saturday, thousands gathered outside the Justice Center, which had become tradition in Portland. People marched around downtown and occupied the street in front of the JC, the casual name given to the Justice Center. Police came out a few times throughout the day to try and get people off the street, with mixed results. This culminated with police in riot gear tear gassing the streets and city parks around the JC while bashing people in the head with truncheons, all in broad daylight, hours before the curfew was set to begin.
And they are deploying extreme violence to do it. Look at this. They're beating us around the street. Flashbangs and tear gas in the center of the square. Look at this cop hitting her with his stick. Look at the violence he's doing. Look at this man.
Throughout downtown, police in white vans targeted the largest crowd of protesters they could find, launching tear gas and stun grenades into the crowd of people. Regular city traffic was engulfed in clouds of gas on streets which had not even been closed. Houseless Portlanders sleeping in tents were awoken by flashbangs, gas, and impact rounds. As the clock struck 8 p.m., after telling and gassing protesters for the better part of 2 hours, cops kettled protesters onto a bridge, surrounding and arresting the entire crowd for being out past curfew. A total of 48 arrests were made that night. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, upon his return from visiting his sick mother, extended the curfew for yet another day. On Sunday, May 31st, the largest crowd yet, 10,000 strong, marched across the Burnside Bridge into downtown. As the marchers approached the end of the bridge, cops were waiting on the other end, blocking their path. Once the sheer size of the crowd became apparent, the police turned tail and ran, hightailing it back to the Justice Center. The crowd followed them there, and a tense hours-long standoff followed. Eventually, the crowd thinned out enough that police were able to tear gas and flashbang grenade protesters into dispersing. That night was one of the most terrifying evenings of the entire uprising, with officers hanging off of riot vans and grenading passersby, seemingly at random. Mayor Wheeler extended the curfew for yet another day. At a press conference announcing its extension, Wheeler doubled down on his law and order stance, this time with the help of Governor Kate Brown.
I want to be very clear that there are open lines of communications between myself and the governor personally, as well as between our offices. There is coordination with the superintendent of state police, as well as the leadership of the National Guard. I spoke to the governor 3 or 4 times yesterday. I did make the request on all 3 of those occasions for support from the National Guard. The governor had alternative strategies that she suggested, including deploying more state police resources. We subsequently asked for additional tools that could be used in the field. That was agreed to by the governor and supported. Based on last night, however, I agree with what the U.S. Attorney has said, and I agree with what my colleagues in the Portland Police Bureau have just confirmed with me, which is we do need more resources.
Come Monday, June 1st, there was a shift in Portland protests. Instead of meeting at the Justice Center, another crowd of thousands gathered on the east side of Portland, across from the river downtown, at an aptly named concert venue, Revolution Hall. After some speeches, the crowd began to march west toward downtown. The crowd neared the fence with a line of riot cops behind the chain link. A young black woman at the head of the march asked an officer if the crowd could march to the JC. The police said no. Eventually, the huge march headed back to Revolution Hall, and no tear gas was used. Now, you have to understand at this point, a lot of the crowd had just spent the last 3 days getting horribly tear gassed, beat up, and chased by the police. The thought of doing a protest and march without being assaulted by the cops It felt like a nice change compared to the last 3 nights. But that all changed the next day. The day that would become infamously known as Tear Gas Tuesday.
Tear Gas Tuesday sucked. Well, I had a full asthma attack. I'd never been subjected to tear gas before. And so I saw a cloud of tear gas, and I saw a man fall down in the cloud of tear gas, and he was struggling to get up. And so I ran in and I kind of picked him up by his shirt and then grabbed him by his arm and pulled him out of there. And then I immediately had an asthma attack. And my buddy picked me up by my shirt and got us both out of there.
That's Chris, a volunteer protest medic, and Tear Gas Tuesday was actually his second night out. The brutality he witnessed is what got him to decide to dedicate his whole summer to helping people in the streets.
I saw a girl get hit in the face with shrapnel, and that was not okay. And then everybody's getting tear gassed, and it was a mess, and that was the infamous Tear Gas Tuesday. And after that, I just kind of decided that I needed to start coming out with medical supplies, because how that was handled, what people were doing to provide medicine in that moment wasn't up to a standard that I knew that I could provide.
But let's take a step back. Tear Gas Tuesday was a noteworthy shift for Portland protests for a multitude of reasons. It was the first day since riot night with no curfew, with city officials even publicly admitting to the curfew being ineffective now. And it was the first day that the protests noticeably began to splinter. Just like Monday, the day before, thousands marched from Revolution Hall toward the fence, which at this point surrounded several city blocks, including the Justice Center, the federal courthouse, and Chapman and Lounsdale, the 2 city parks which faced those buildings. Only this time, just half the crowd turned back to Rev Hall, with the other half set on chanting at the police behind the chain link fence. The Portland police issued repeated warnings over loudspeakers that protesters were not to touch the fence under threat of riot munitions. As might be predicted, the sanctity of PPP's sacred fence became an immediate source of ridicule, even as police followed through on their threats. And as members of the crowd dared to touch the fence, the PPP once again deployed an outrageous amount of tear gas. And it wasn't even the amount of tear gas that was fired off that night, but how they fired it. Several times police rushed in multiple directions, all while firing off more tear gas, creating a massive cage of poison.
Police are boxing the crowd in on several sides and deploying munitions into the crowd. Flashbangs and gas. You can see the anti-fascist flag here. Lots of gas.
2 other things stick out from Tear Gas Tuesday. The first of which was just how many motorists driving through downtown were tear gassed by Portland police.
They are shooting them down on us from everywhere, from the fucking rooftops. Police firing on all sides, pumping gas into traffic, pumping gas into the crowds, shooting gas. Look, there's fucking tear gas. There's fucking tear gas in the middle of traffic that was just fired from someone up on a rooftop into the middle of traffic.
Multiple times, people who were blinded by gas while driving panicked and lost control of their vehicles nearly hit people as they drove into crowds. Protesters with water bottles and medical supplies rendered aid to drivers who had crashed into the curb.
So here we have, look how many cars there are here. All of these people are about to get tear gassed by the Portland Police Bureau. Oh boy, they just started arcing them down at us from God knows where, maybe on the fucking roof. They're just coming down from the sky. People trying to traffic cone them, trying to kick them away, trying to stop them from gassing traffic.
The other thing that sticks out is the crowd's resilience was growing. Protesters started adopting tactics seen in the Hong Kong uprising, like placing traffic cones over tear gas canisters and pouring water through the top of the cone to get the burning canister out.
We see people actually very effectively deploying Hong Kong tactics here to stop these tear gas grenades from gassing both protesters and from gassing vehicles.
A chant that became popular in the weeks to come was "Walk, Don't Run," reminding people in times of panic, often the safest way out is just by walking calmly.
People yelling. More experienced organizers are walking calmly through the crowd, putting hands on people and saying, "Do not run, do not run." Because the thing that hurts people in situations like this is panic.
Winter is in full swing, and Aleve is here to keep you moving. When the cold weather sets in, everyday aches and pains can linger, but Aleve's got your back. With up to 12 hours of body pain relief per dose, Aleve keeps you going with long-lasting body pain relief to get you through whatever the season might bring. On chilly days or cozy nights, Aleve gives you that long-lasting body pain relief you can count on this winter. So don't let body pain slow you down. Try Aleve. Use as directed for minor aches and pains.
Picture this. A curve in the road. A change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer's always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to performance. Yes to comfort. Yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that's real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
This is Chelsea Handler from Dear Chelsea, and now a vital break from our sponsor, Vital Proteins. You know the blue tub you've probably seen everywhere? That's Vital Proteins collagen peptides. Now, why use them? Because they're the experts, the #1 collagen brand in the U.S. I'm talking about ingredients backed by science and shown to be effective. When we hit age 30, our bodies naturally produce less collagen, and collagen has a lot of benefits, a lot. Collagen peptides are a simple wellness supplement that supports healthy hair, skin, nails, bones, and joints. And it's easy to use. Add a serving to whatever you're already drinking, morning coffee, afternoon tea, daily smoothie. I add it to my yogurt every morning, whatever you're into. I like the chocolate flavor because it's so easy to add to my yogurt and it actually tastes good. I do a lot to focus on my health, and this is one thing I think helps keep my knees feeling good on the slopes every year. But however you do it, consistency is the key. It's crazy how something so effective is so easy. And right now, you can get 20% off your next order by going to vitalproteins.com and using promo code Chelsea20 at checkout. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Scary, but it probably won't seriously harm you if you don't panic. And the police aren't going to take any steps to try to avoid a stampede. So the only way to avoid a stampede is, again, for the crowd to take care of itself. We have seen people get so much better at reforming the crowd after being gassed. That started to really improve on Sunday night. And look, most of the people are still here, still organized, still marching, still many thousands of people. This is the first time we've seen the best job of the crowd staying together and really showing commitment and endurance in the face of police brutality. So this has been a very important and a very impressive night from the activists and the citizens of Portland, Oregon.
Chris, who acquired a gas mask the very next day, sums up his feelings about Tear Gas Tuesday like this.
It was such an odd response to see the police respond to a protest about police violence and brutality with just police violence and brutality.
We crook it.
What's up, guys? I'm Rashad Bilal.
And I am Troy Millings, and we are the hosts of the Earn Your Leisure podcast, where we break down business models and examine the latest trends in finance.
We hold court and have exclusive interviews with some of the biggest names in business, sport, and entertainment. From DJ Khaled to Mark Cuban, Rick Ross, and Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, our alumni list is expansive.
Listen in as our guests reveal their business models, hardships, and triumphs in their respective fields. The knowledge is in depth, and the questions are always delivered from your standpoint. We want to know what you want to know.
We talk to the legends of business, sports, and entertainment about how they got their start and, most importantly, how they make their money. Earn Your Leisure is a college business class mixed with pop culture.
Want to learn about the real estate game? Unclear as how the stock market works? We got you. Interested in starting a trucking company or a vending machine business? Not really sure about how taxes or credit work? We got it all covered. The Earn Your Leisure podcast is available now. Listen to Earn Your Leisure on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Make sure to check out Drink Champs, your #1 music podcast on the Black Effect Podcast Network. Host NORE and DJ EFN sat down with artist and icon Ye, which Vulture called one of 2021's most significant interviews.
I literally had to go like Thanos, and I don't want to have to be the villain, but when I went and did the Donda thing, Ye returned. And everybody had to sit back and watch the real leader.
Check out Drink Champs' conversation with Ye and many more legendary artists each and every Friday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
From Cavalry Audio comes the new true crime podcast, The Shadow Girls.
I always wanted to know what it felt like to kill somebody. And he started laughing.
Prosecutors described him as a serial killer savant, picking up these girls, getting them in a position of vulnerability. When he got a hold of their neck, that was it.
I'm Carolyn Osorio, a journalist and lifelong resident of the Pacific Northwest. I grew up near the banks of the Green River and in the shadow of the killer that bears its name.
How many times did you bring the camera to
One
the river?
time.
Just one time?
One time.
He started fantasizing about having sex with his mother. Then he fantasized about killing her.
But this podcast isn't only about tracking down the killer. It's about the victims.
We stayed in the woods. He always liked to go to the woods.
She was just, to all of us, kind of strange.
You know how he feels about prostitutes?
Listen to The Shadow Girls on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
After Tear Gas Tuesday, things in Portland started to fall into a pattern. During the day, there'd be massive peaceful marches starting from Revolution Hall led by a new group called Rose City Justice. At night, about 1,000 protesters would gather at the Sacred Fence, which now only surrounded the Justice Center and the adjacent federal buildings, to inevitably get tear gassed and attacked by police for, quote, tampering with the fence. Photojournalist and photographer Mariah says some of her favorite moments of the protests were at the massive marches organized by Rose City Justice in early June.
I would say, like, in the early days, really is some stuff that really is memorable to me, especially with a lot of my favorite photos from this whole movement has come from the earlier days. Like, there was a moment, I want to say it was the Burnside Bridge, when everyone was like laying down for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And I got some good pictures of that, and it was just really great to capture. I think like the moment when Damian Lillard came out, everyone had like the celeb moment in this, and and at the moment, actually, when he came out, I didn't even know he was out there. And so I checked my photos later, and I was like, oh snap, got him and stuff.
Activist and live streamer Max Smith attended both the larger daytime protests on the east side and the night protests at the JC. Here, he explains how he became a popular speaker at the Portland protests and the interesting effect of having both the daytime march and a nighttime action on the public.
I want to say it was the second or the third that I actually got out in the streets, doing the work with the security stuff and helping out with the larger marches on the east side, the Revolution Hall things and all that. So I was kind of playing a couple of roles over there with helping with the Guardian folks and doing some, political education at the same time. And it kind of just came natural. I just start talking to people and people start listening to what I'm saying. And on the night of the 5th, I got arrested downtown at the JC, or around the area of the JC at least. I got arrested down there. And so that weekend, I ended up giving a speech at Irving Park. And that's kind of where things started. It ended up being like streamed on the news locally. So that's where things kind of started changing for me at that point.
And can you talk to me about the night you were arrested? I'm interested in kind of as much detail as you're interested in going in.
Yeah, that's fine. it was just a basic arrest. I was actually out there with a couple of people. We had been going down a couple nights to see what was going on at the Justice Center. Because, I had been, if you're just watching the news, all you see is, it looks like one big march, right? Like it's one huge march. It starts in the daytime. And all of a sudden it descends into madness at night. But quickly I realized that there's multiple things that are going on. If you leave your house, if you go off the TV, there's a lot that's going on in the streets. So I started, going out to see different things. And we were down at the JC and things got really gassy. It was one of the nights. So again, it was the first, a few days of gassing.
Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Everyone out. Everyone out. Out, 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 out. We do not give it back.
And I had been down there before, and this time I brought a couple different people that were like, I'm trying to see it, but I'm scared. And I was like, just come with me. I'll show you what's going on. It's not that big of a deal. But we ended up catching up with some other people down there and kind of had like a little group. And there were a lot of teenagers down there. And so we were actually making sure a lot of people got out because there were cops everywhere, like circling and pulling people over and stopping people and arresting them. And so we were like kind of...
Winter is in full swing, and Aleve is here to keep you moving. When the cold weather sets in, everyday aches and pains can linger, but Aleve has got your back. With up to 12 hours of body pain relief per dose, Aleve keeps you going with long-lasting body pain relief to get you through whatever the season brings. Chilly days or cozy nights, Aleve gives you that long-lasting body pain relief you can count on this winter. Try Aleve. Use as directed for minor aches and pains.
Picture this. A curve in the road, a change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer's always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to performance. Yes to comfort. Yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that's real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
This is Chelsea Handler from Dear Chelsea. And now a vital break from our sponsor, Vital Proteins. You know the blue tub you've probably seen everywhere? That's Vital Proteins collagen peptides. Now, why use them? Because they're the experts, the #1 collagen brand in the U.S. I'm talking about ingredients backed by science and shown to be effective. When we hit age 30, our bodies naturally produce less collagen, and collagen has a lot of benefits, a lot. Collagen peptides are a simple wellness supplement that supports healthy hair, skin, nails, bones, and joints. And it's easy to use. Add a serving to whatever you're already drinking, morning coffee, afternoon tea, daily smoothie. I add it to my yogurt every morning, whatever you're into. I like the chocolate flavor because it's so easy to add to my yogurt and it actually tastes good. I do a lot to focus on my health, and this is one thing I think helps keep my knees feeling good on the slopes every year. But however you do it, consistency is the key. It's crazy how something so effective is so easy. And right now, you can get 20% off your next order by going to vitalproteins.com and using promo code Chelsea20 at checkout. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Helping folks navigate their way out. And then as it got late, there were a bunch of people that were suffering from tear gas. And so myself and a medic, and I have like a first aid, a training, a basic stuff. And so those first nights I was out there with milk or the baking soda and water solutions and whatever else, just helping folks out. And so we were following the groans of people, coughing and and being victims of tear gas, and the cops just rolled up with like 4 cars, and 8 officers hopped out, and I got snatched up. I just got snatched up. I got grabbed by the hair, got yanked to the ground, bruised my elbow. You know, I had a crick on my neck for a few days, but they arrested me. They drove me around in a squad car for like 15, 20 minutes. They picked up some other guy. They accused him of drawing on a window with a Sharpie or something. And he's like, what? And they were like, they were trying to charge him with a felony. All of our charges got dropped. No one got charged with anything. I got charged with obstructing the police. He got charged with something else.
As Mac was inside the police car, he was also able to get a sneak peek of how the police were targeting people for arrest behind the scenes.
I thought it was crazy because they had this like thing in their car, like this, like a heads up display, like a HUD. And it had an aerial view of the downtown grid. And it was able to track people. And I thought it was like a Call of Duty display, like when you're like using like, the helicopter or whatever. It was like that. And like you could see like the people, and they were like represented like as lights, kind of. There was like a light on them. It was like a black and white display, and you could see the things that are moving. But then like with people, it basically lit them up with like lights and circles. It would circle us if we were in groups. And when the groups got small enough, they would like turn green, and the cops would just to go and arrest people.
The group of protesters gathered at the fence were quick to make a distinction between, quote, peaceful protests and nonviolent protests. While the massive Rose City Justice marches remained peaceful, the crowds at the JC would engage in nonviolent actions such as shaking, tearing down, and cutting apart the chain link fence. Most of what people did at the JC was just standing in the street and parks while chanting demands and slogans. But it didn't require people to tamper with the fence or throw half-drunk water bottles for the police to respond with force, as this protester can attest.
I was downtown, and it was back at the original fence, and there was I probably estimate like 500 people there, and everyone was really spread out. And there was no police on the ground. It was raining that night, and they had their floodlights like pointed at us. And one shot got fired from one of the like the little balcony areas, the one that's farther to the right. And it hit me in the leg. It was just one shot, and it hit me at the very top of my left thigh. And I was just standing there with a group of friends. There was a beach ball in the crowd that night, and it said, "Don't gas me, bro." And I picked it up and I started riding on it. And one shot got fired, and it hit me in the leg. And that was what I would consider to be, at least like protest related, my first encounter with the Portland Police Bureau. No one was doing anything. No one was, pushing on the fence or knocking on it. And they just fired a shot into the crowd, and it hit me.
We crooked.
Conquer your New Year's resolution to be more productive with the Before Breakfast podcast. In each bite-sized daily episode, time management and productivity expert Laura Vanderkam teaches you how to make the most of your time, both at work and at home. These are the practical suggestions you need to get more done with your day.
Just as lifting weights keeps our bodies strong as we age, learning new skills is the mental equivalent of pumping iron.
Listen to Before Breakfast wherever you get your podcasts.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
Here's to the great American settlers. The millions of you who settled for unsatisfying jobs because they pay the bills and, you just kind of fell into it. And it's like totally fine. Just another few decades or so, and then you can enjoy yourself. Of course, there is something else you could do if you got something to say. You could, start a podcast with Spreaker from iHeart and unleash your creative freedom and spend all day researching and talking about stuff you love. And maybe even earn enough money to one day tell your irritating boss as you quit and walk off into the sunset, "Hey, I'm no settler. I'm an explorer." Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker. Hustle on over today.
Next, you're going to hear from Garrison Davis. He was just 17 when Portland's BLM protests started, and for weeks he was out virtually every night, filming some of the most intense police violence and posting some of the most viral videos of the entire uprising. Here's Garrison.
Every night, the fence at the Justice Center seemed to grow larger. The city doubled up some sections of the chain link and stacked pieces of fence on top of one another. Eventually, concrete barriers were added to make it harder to knock over the fence. The divides between protesters began to widen as well. Some of the more radical leftist BLM activists in Portland criticized Rose City Justice and their insistence on, quote, peaceful protest over direct action that might damage police property. Gregory McKelvey, vice chair of Oregon Dems Black Caucus and former organizer, pushed back on some of that criticism. Gregory was also organizing on a new front now. As protests gained steam, he was in the home stretch of leading a grassroots-style campaign for political newcomer Sarah Iannarone to take down incumbent Mayor Ted Wheeler. Many Portlanders felt Wheeler had failed on his promise to deliver fundamental change on issues of housing and police reform. Instead, Wheeler became a symbol of big money in politics, more of the same. Gregory's candidate, Iannarone, ran to the left of Wheeler, dubbing herself an, quote, everyday anti-fascist.
So, we had a situation where tens of thousands of people were marching every day. And if you're at those events, they're just beautiful. And yeah, they're way more liberal. They're way more moderate. But those people are being marched along, pun intended, towards a more radical place. And, Malcolm X said more eloquently than me that basically, everything there was a point where you didn't. And so these people are on their journey just as everybody else. And just because they're not anarchists yet does not make them agents of the state. And I really think that those protests are what effectively got us the $20 million defunded from the police. I mean, we had a moment where there were mass protests and Damian Lillard was at the front of a protest that was capturing the entire city.
Now, if you're wondering, yes, he is talking about that Damian Lillard, 5-time NBA All-Star and Portland Trailblazer superstar point guard Damian Lillard. Yeah, he was out there too.
Yeah, they weren't burning stuff down. And also some of their rhetoric was not, as far left as maybe I would like, and certainly that some people at the Justice Center would like. But I actually do think those protests were more effective, and they certainly had far more support from the broad public. And we were getting people at these protests who had never protested before. Like, I don't think the Justice Center protests should have stopped, and I don't think that they're ineffective per se. But I think they're certainly much more effective if in tandem there's also the other protests going on. So if I'm at home watching Channel 2, 6, 8, or 12, which I had to watch a lot for my job, they're not making a difference between which protesters are which protesters. They're just saying protesters marched and Damian Lillard joined them. Later in the night, protesters were gassed and beaten, right? That way of explaining things is really helpful for all the protesters, because they see that protest with Damian Lillard and they're like, oh, I support this. And then they see what they think is the same people getting gassed that night. And they're like, no. And that helps us move the conversation towards defunding. Once those massive protests go away and we only have protests that Damian Lillard is never going to be seen at, now they have no support from the broad public.
Early June is also when most of Portland's 2020 police reforms were achieved, under large pressure both locally and from the nationwide BLM movement. The Portland Public Schools superintendent decided to end the School Resource Officer program, opting instead for an increased spending on social workers, counselors, and culturally specific mentors for students. Also, a historically racist Portland police unit was also disbanded. Here's more on that from Gregory.
We got rid of some of the specialty units, including the gang enforcement unit, or formerly known as the gang enforcement unit, which kept a list of mostly Black individuals that they thought were gang members. And it really was a circle of our injustice carceral system, and was really abhorrent and racist. And they switched their name to the Gun Violence Reduction Team in a branding effort, but still had the same mandate. We got rid of that specialty unit. We defunded $20-something million from the police, which sounds like a lot, but we were defunding from a lot of different bureaus because of the pandemic and the budget shortfall in general.
Alongside those small reforms in early June, Portland also saw some negative change on the road to police accountability. The officers responding to protests were told they were allowed to cover both their name tag and badge number. Amid fears officers would be, quote, doxxed. Lawyer Alan Kessler explains this in greater detail.
So, there's a directive that says that the police shall display their name on their uniform unless they get special dispensation from their commander to not do it. And the police are supposed to give you a business card if you ask. They're supposed to identify themselves and they're supposed to give a business card which has their name and badge number on it, right? Yeah. It's not supposed to be a secret police force. And the directives are, there are several directives that are kind of about that interaction with the public. It turns out that very early in the protests, there was an email that was sent out that told police that it's okay for them to cover their badge and then replace it with it's called their personnel number, or PERNR, spelled either PRNR or PERNR. And it's a weird choice. Like the only thing it was used for before that was payroll. It's in their accounting system. Oh, and also historically it's been used on some internal investigations of police officers, like in internal review reports. But the reason they picked it, I kind of guessed this at the time, but it was too silly to be true, was there aren't a ton of things that are exempt from the public records law in Oregon, but one thing that is exempt is numbers on an ID badge. So somebody thought this through. Somebody who is really familiar with the public records law thought this through and said, okay, if we use the number from the ID badge as the cop's badge number, then if anybody asks for the list, we'll say, no, those are secret numbers that are, we have to keep them secret for the cop's protection, which is nuts because they're wearing it out in public on their chest. But
there's no way to trace it back in a digital format.
No way for us to, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah. I assume they have some way.
Yeah.
The early marches had been absolutely enormous, but almost everyone there fell into the simple category of protester. There were some very overworked medics, but Portland lacked the sheer variety of specialties among activists that allowed Hong Kong's protest movement to persist for so long. That changed over the first few weeks of the uprising, as people who never thought of themselves as particularly radical fell into new roles. There were no longer just street medics, but shield-bearing frontliners, people armed with traffic cones and water to douse tear gas. Other activists provided food and equipment, and a handful of Portlanders began learning the trade of the conflict journalist, while Portland's professional press got used to packing body armor alongside their camera and notebook. As in any mass movement, there was bound to be disagreements and infighting. People had differing opinions on everything from looting to dumpster fires to how much fence shaking was acceptable, and the usefulness of large marches that stayed completely peaceful. Despite those differences, people did keep coming out, day after day, night after night, for the entire first half of June. Some of those people are still coming out even now.
Yeah, I was kind of me personally expecting just for people just to maybe be protesting a week to, not much, and then, quote unquote, back to normal life. But, and then it's been now 5 months at it. So, yeah, and I kept going with because I just felt really strongly to keep going, and especially with what I was doing as for photographing it all. I just had this passion that I was like, okay, I got to keep going. So, yeah, I haven't stopped.
As June wore on, the number of people out at nightly demonstrations began to drop. Crowds of thousands became crowds of hundreds. A certain mania took over the increasingly hardened core of the Portland BLM movement, who seemed to feel the need to confront police every single night without pause. It exhausted many protesters and journalists. Koska describes the feeling well.
I mean, it was every night, and it was nonstop. And I remember once when they had the double fences up in front of the Justice Center. I remember some people walking away from it, and they were telling me that the protest was canceled. And I said, "There's no such thing as canceling this." I was like, "This." To me, I even said it on one of my videos. I mean, it probably sounds kind of cheesy, but I was like, "This feels like the energy for this rebellion is coming from some unknown place." I said it felt almost supernatural because it was pushing people beyond their human limits. Like for me, I'm not the kind of person that will, interrupt my sleep schedule for almost anything. But I didn't really sleep or eat or drink as you're supposed to for almost 2 months because I was so wrapped up in what was happening. And then I didn't know that for a while. I didn't know that other cities were still protesting for a long time because I, didn't even have time to check the news because it would take me, since I'm older, it takes me longer to recover from that. So the whole, I would be recovering the whole time not protesting. While I was not protesting, I'd be recovering from protesting. And that's pretty much all I did for almost 2 months.
Looking back on the early days of the uprising, you can see all the little things that happened in order to transform this into more than just a regular protest. Every day, the brutality from the previous night rekindled people's desire for change. Repeated tear gassings forced the crowd to get good at reforming after being dispersed. As the days turned into weeks, protesters started mirroring Hong Kong tactics more and more. Established activist groups provided support for new activists with new ideas. On June 17th, inspired by Seattle's Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, Portland protesters announced plans for an autonomous zone of their own. This AZ was limited to a single city block in front of Mayor Ted Wheeler's luxury condo, where protesters set up tents, ate pizza, and played dance music late into the night. The Portland police ousted the occupation early the following morning, but protesters were clearly learning valuable lessons. Drinks, pizza, medical support, and a speaker system arrived within the first hour of the occupation. Barricades went up soon after, followed by the arrival of the autonomous zone's very own porta potty. By the time the police swept through in the early morning, a surprising amount of infrastructure had been set down in a very short amount of time. That action ultimately failed. But as protests continued through the city, infrastructure would spring up again and again. Throughout the first half of June, a framework was put in place that would transform Portland's Black Lives Matter protests into a movement that could hold on and dig in for more than half a year.
Word to grandpops who couldn't fathom the Obamas. I don't hate America, just the man she keeps her promises. 20 teens looking like the 60s, it's crazy. A nationwide deja vu, what my people supposed to do. Go to schools named after the Klan founder. Word around town is y'all don't see why we frowning. Native American students forced to learn about Winnow Sarah. How is that fair, bruh? Some heroes unsung and some monsters get monuments built for them, but ain't we all a little bit of monster? We crooked. Man, your heroes are worthless, and man can show try, but only God gives purpose. You crooked.
I'm John Gonzalez, the host of SI's new podcast, Sports Illustrated Weekly. Sports Illustrated has delivered some of the best storytelling in sports for 70 years. And now that continues on our show. Each week, we'll dive deep into the best stories from around the sports world. Sports Illustrated Weekly is available every Wednesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe now.
The art world, it is essentially a money laundering business.
The best fakes are still hanging on people's walls. You know, they don't even know or suspect that they're fakes.
I'm Alec Baldwin, and this is a podcast about deception, greed, and forgery in the art world.
I just walked in and saw this bright red painting, presuming to be a Rothko.
Of course, art forgeries only happen because there's money to be made. A lot of money.
I'm listening to what they're paying for these things. It was incredible amounts of money.
You knew the painting was fake.
Listen to Art Fraud starting February 1st on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Lethal listeners. Tig here. Last season on Lethal Lit, you might remember I came to Hollow Falls on a mission, clearing my Aunt Beth's name and making sure justice was finally served. But I hadn't counted on a rash of new murders tearing apart the town. My mission put myself and my friends in danger, though it wasn't all bad.
I'm gonna be real with you, Tig. I like you.
But now, all signs point to a new serial killer in Hollow Falls. If this game is just starting, you better believe I'm gonna win. I'm Tig Torres, and this is Lethal Lit.
Catch up on Season 1 of the hit murder mystery podcast Lethal Lit, a Tig Torres mystery, out now. And then tune in for all new thrills in Season 2, dropping weekly starting February 9th. Subscribe now to never miss an episode. Listen to Lethal Lit on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Honestly,
no one wants to think about HIV, but there are things that everyone can do to help prevent it. Things like PrEP. PrEP stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis, and it means routinely taking prescription medicine before you're exposed to HIV to help reduce your chances of getting it. PrEP can be about 99% effective when taken as prescribed. It doesn't protect against other STIs, though, so be sure to use condoms and other healthy sex practices. Ask a healthcare provider about all your prevention options, and visit findoutoboutprep.com to learn more. Sponsored by Gilead.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only machine washable sofa inside and out, where designer quality meets budget-friendly prices. That's right, sofas start at just $699. Enjoy a no-risk experience with pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and changeable slip covers made with performance fabric. Experience cloud-like comfort with high-resilience foam that's hypoallergenic and never needs fluffing. The sturdy steel frame ensures longevity, and the modular pieces can be rearranged anytime. Shop WashableSofas.com for up to 60% off site-wide, backed by a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. If you're not absolutely in love, send it back for a full refund. No return shipping or restocking fees. Every penny back. Upgrade now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo. Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.